It is 1 in the morning, and you are still awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying a text message you sent 4 hours ago. You have read it back at least 20 times now. You have imagined 6 different ways the other person could have taken it. You have drafted, in your head, at least 3 different follow-up messages you will never actually send. Tomorrow you will be tired, and slower, and less patient with the people who actually need you present. And somewhere underneath all of it, a small, exhausted part of you is asking the same question it always asks at this hour. Why can't I just stop thinking about this? You have probably been told the answer is that you think too much, that you simply need to quiet your mind, meditate more, distract yourself, turn your brain's volume down. But if the problem were really the volume of your thoughts, then the moments of total obvious relief, falling asleep, finally finishing the task, getting the answer you were afraid of, would end the loop instantly. And sometimes they do not. Sometimes you get exactly the answer you needed, and the mind finds a brand new thing to circle 5 minutes later. That should tell you the loop was never really about the specific thought at all. Here is something you can use tonight, before we even get into why this happens. The next time you notice yourself circling the same thought for the 3rd or 4th time, do not try to think your way out of it with more thinking. Instead, ask one blunt question. Is there a new piece of information I could actually get right now that would change anything? If the honest answer is no, if you have already thought this exact thought before and nothing new is going to appear by thinking it an 11th time, say, out loud if you need to, there is nothing left to solve here right now, and physically do something else with your hands. Wash a dish, fold a shirt. The loop is not designed to be out-thought. It is designed to be interrupted. That will help you tonight. It will not explain why your mind keeps generating a problem to solve when there is nothing left to solve, and that part is where this gets interesting. Overthinking looks like your brain trying too hard to solve something. It is almost never that. It is your brain trying to feel certain about something that cannot be made certain, and mistaking the feeling of "I've thought about this enough" for the feeling of "I actually know what will happen now." Those two feelings get confused inside your head constantly, and only one of them is real. You cannot think your way into certainty about another person's reaction, or an uncertain outcome, or a decision with no clear right answer. You can only think your way into exhaustion, while your brain quietly convinces itself that just one more pass through the same 5 facts will finally produce the guarantee it is looking for. This is what researcher Susan Nolan Hoeksema found when she studied rumination for decades. That going over a problem again and again does not actually help people solve it or feel better. It mainly just prolongs the distress, because the brain experiences the act of thinking about the problem as a form of doing something about it, even when nothing is actually changing. Overthinking feels productive. It rarely is. This matters right now because it means the harder you try to think your way to relief, the more convinced your brain becomes that thinking is the correct tool for this job, even as the exhaustion piles up and the actual decision goes nowhere. You are not failing to solve the problem because you have not thought about it enough. You have almost certainly already thought about it enough. You are stuck because your brain has confused more thinking with more safety, and it will keep reaching for that same broken tool until something teaches it otherwise. So if overthinking is not really about solving anything, what is it actually trying to do? This is the part that reframes almost everything you have believed about your own racing mind. Overthinking is not a thinking problem. It is a control problem wearing a thinking costume. The moment you are facing something genuinely uncertain, will they be upset? Will this decision go badly? Will this thing you cannot take back turn out to be a mistake? Some part of you refuses to accept that the uncertainty is simply real, permanent, and not solvable by more analysis. So instead of tolerating the discomfort of not knowing, your mind keeps generating more analysis, because analysis feels like control, even when it is manufacturing the illusion of control rather than the thing itself. You are not overthinking because you are especially anxious or especially smart. You are overthinking because some part of you has not yet accepted that this particular question does not have a knowable answer, and it keeps searching anyway. Think about the last time you made a genuinely difficult decision quickly, almost on instinct, and it turned out fine. A fast judgment call at work, a spontaneous plan with a friend, a quick read of a room that turned out to be accurate. Now compare that to the decisions you have circled for days without landing anywhere. The difference was rarely how important the decision actually was. It was how much your mind believed, going in, that there was a hidden correct answer waiting to be found if it just searched hard enough. The searchable problems get solved fast. The unsearchable ones, the ones with no discoverable right answer, only outcomes you will not know until they happen, are exactly the ones that trap you in the loop, because your brain keeps looking for an answer that was never sitting there to be found. So here is the second thing you can actually use, and it works because it targets the actual mechanism instead of the surface symptom. When you catch the loop running, instead of asking, "What should I do?" ask, "Is this actually an uncertainty I need to make peace with, or a decision I am simply avoiding?" Naming which one it is changes everything. If it is uncertainty you need to make peace with, no amount of further thinking will resolve it, and the honest move is to practice tolerating not knowing rather than trying to think your way to a guarantee that does not exist. If it is a decision you are avoiding, the discomfort is not confusion, it is reluctance, and the fix is not more analysis either. It is simply choosing, imperfectly, and living with the choice. Here is the part that changes almost everything else you thought you understood about this, and it is the part most people never hear, because it usually arrives right when the video seems like it should already be wrapping up. You have probably assumed, this whole time, that the opposite of overthinking is not thinking, some calm, empty-headed state you are supposed to reach through willpower or meditation. But the actual opposite of overthinking is not less thinking. It is tolerating an unresolved feeling without needing to solve it first. People who seem to not overthink things are not people with quieter minds. They are people who have built a higher tolerance for walking around with an open question and simply letting it stay open, without needing to close it through analysis before they can function normally again. That single shift changes what you are actually training. You are not training your mind to think less. You are training your nervous system to tolerate more open loops without treating every single one of them as an emergency that must be resolved immediately through more thought. That tolerance is a skill, built the same way any tolerance is built, through small, repeated exposure, not through a single insight or a single relaxing evening. Which brings us to the actual shift, the one that makes all of this usable instead of just interesting. The next time your mind hands you the same thought for the fourth or fifth time, do not treat it as new information demanding a new pass of analysis. Ask whether there is genuinely something new to learn, or whether you are simply being asked, again, to sit with something you cannot fully resolve. If it is the second one, let it stay unresolved. Do something with your hands instead of your head. Let the open loop remain open a little longer than feels comfortable, and notice, the way you always eventually do, that nothing catastrophic happens simply because a question stayed unanswered for one more hour. It is 1 in the morning again, some other night, some other thought looping quietly behind your eyes. But this time you do not reach for the 11th replay of the same 5 facts. You ask the blunt question, is there anything new here, or am I just afraid to let this stay unknown? And for once, instead of thinking harder, you let the not knowing simply sit there, unsolved, while you finally close your eyes.